This week, we're talking roasted tomato soup. Join us in just a few minutes. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. I'm Sheila, and Joe's behind the camera. We live in a household where I eat whole food plant-based to cure my migraines, and Joe eats their standard American diet. And so we created this channel so we could show people that it's really not as hard as it seems. Once you break it down, what everybody eats, you do still eat a lot of the things that are similar. And so we show you dishes where we make them one dish, two ways. So today we're going to make roasted tomato soup. Tomato soup, I know for me as a kid, was always something we had a lot of, especially during Lent on Fridays when we couldn't have meat, or just in general, grilled cheese and tomato soup was just something a lot of American families had. So today, the reason we're doing it is we have finally harvested the last of our tomatoes. We always have like a late crop of tomatoes, I tell Joe. I don't know why that is, but that's okay. So we have a bunch of tomatoes here that they've been on the counter, a couple weeks now, getting red. Yeah, and they have. We still have some green ones we're hoping we'll have for Thanksgiving, but it's actually roasted vegetable soup is super easy to make because really all you have to do is roast the veggies. So the first thing is you always want roasted garlic. If you put raw garlic in your roasted veggie soup, it can be a little pungent. Whereas when you roast it, it kind of sweetens it up. But I have found if you stick it on here and roast it, it doesn't do as well. So I always put it in the foil. A lot of people drizzle oil. I don't use the oil. So you just bring all the sides together. And this will just go in the oven next to this. Now, this does take about 10 minutes longer than the veggies do. So sometimes I start this ahead while I'm prepping the veggies. And I guess I should have said how I did the garlic. So you do need to cut the top off. This is what the remnants is, so I could show that to you. But you cut the top off of the garlic, and then you stick it in your foil. You could, like I said, you could stick it on there. I just think when it's all closed up and there's steam constantly around it, it seems to cook better. And then on this tray, I guess I'm technically making roasted red pepper and tomato soup because we always like that. Once we got on our own, we discovered the roasted red pepper and tomato soup at Trader Joe's, and we always like that. So that's what I'm more mimicking now. So I've got some whole tomatoes that I cut into halves or quarters, depending on how big they were. Some had some spots I had to cut off, and so that's why there's some that are smaller, that are in smaller cuts. I've got a whole bunch of the grape tomatoes. I've got one onion, and then I've got one red bell pepper. So I cut the bell pepper and the onions kind of small because I want them to cook at the same time that the tomatoes do. I always put it in for 20 minutes, and then I look at it, and I might need 10 more minutes. I might need 5 more minutes. It's just every time it's just a little bit different how quickly everything cooks. No oil needed. I do have a silicone mat just to make it easier to clean this after it's all done. But once it comes out of the oven, then we're just going to put it in our blender and blend it up with the roasted garlic and some basil. And it's that simple. I mean, it's honestly, the first time when I watched somebody do it, I was like, it can't be that easy. Really is that easy, and it really is that good. So that's what we're showing you today. So we're going to put this in the oven for 20 minutes. I will check it, and then I'll give you the final time.
No seasoning?
Nope, no seasoning yet. No, good question. Joe was asking if there's seasoning. No, nothing yet. We'll do all the seasoning at the end. So we'll be back as soon as these are roasted. Welcome back. So as you can see, everything has come out of the oven. Now I took the tomatoes out about 10 minutes ago while I let the garlic cook a little bit more. So they got all, look at that, they just look so good. They smell so good in here, probably because of the garlic. So Joe pointed out after we got off camera and I put everything in that I did not describe what I was doing with the garlic well enough. So I wanted to show that. So if you get a whole bulb of garlic, when I say cut the head off, I meant that I cut it here. I don't cut down here. So that is what I did. So that's what we'll make sure we told you. So we're going to put all of this into the blender. So I will tell you, I made this last weekend too. And I did not wait long enough for this to cool. And I could barely get the garlic out of here. So you can, hopefully Joe can get this. You just start squeezing it out. And then the garlic, it just squeezes right out. I mean, it just comes out and still pretty hot. Because you don't want any of the, and it just kind of squeezes out of everywhere. It just depends on, let's see, look at that. Oh, so good. And I am good. Ooh, that's not good. We don't want all that paper in there. But I will get all this. There's nothing left in there. Okay, so I'll keep going on this. I mean, garlic just sweetens up so much when you roast it. I mean, it's just so good. So, I already got most of it squeezed out at this point. As I wipe off my hands. Okay, so wipe this real quick. Now we need to get the tomatoes, the onions, and the roasted peppers in here. I did want to say while I'm doing this, if you just wanted to roast your onions and your garlic, you could use canned tomatoes and roasted red peppers already to make a quick tomato soup, or just use the canned tomatoes, and the roasted red peppers, blend them, add a bunch of seasoning, and then blend it up and cook it for a little bit. And you could do it that way too. So it doesn't have to be super complicated to make this happen. Oh, so good. Joe, could you go over there to that fresh basil that we dried a couple weeks ago and bring that to me? We're gonna put it inside the soup.
Which one's the basil?
You're gonna have to open it up and smell it.
No.
Because I forgot to mark that. Oh. Don't want to forget a tomato. There we go. And this is another good way if you've got tomatoes maybe at the end of the week that you've got a whole bunch of veg that's not looking, it's not as peak performance. You could always roast a bunch of that. You could even do like butternut squash and things like that and just blend it all up.
I think that's it.
Oh, absolutely. No, wait a minute. I think that's the oregano.
That's the lemon.
Oh, okay. No, it's this one. So I'm just going to add some of this dried basil to it, because with the garlic and the tomatoes in there, that's all we need. Another idea is, I don't want to add too much. Another idea is if you've got, maybe you've got a little bit of tomato paste or a little bit of tomato sauce, you could in the fridge, and you want to finish it up, add it to this. That's not going to be a problem at all. Now, I'm not going to add any liquid at this moment. If I start blending and find that I don't have enough liquid, shouldn't be the case, because those tomatoes are going to create such a liquid. I would add a little bit of veggie broth, but we're going to do that off camera, because I don't know about y'all's Ninja. Ours is super loud and it's not very pleasant to hear. So we're going to go blend this up and we'll be right back. Okay, we're all blended up and ready to taste it for you guys. So I did have, I don't know, a fourth a cup of some tomato sauce in the fridge. So I did add it when I pureed it. It pureed for us in this big pitcher. I hit the puree twice, which for our puree is 45 seconds. So for a minute and a half, I pureed it. I didn't add any other seasonings to it, just that little bit of tomato sauce I had in the fridge. So it was a way to finish it up. The other thing I want to tell you is we ended up roasting for 40 minutes on 375. If you wanted to go higher, you could go 400 and it wouldn't take as long. Mine was mostly to make sure that garlic got roasted. So Joe, you want to come try? Oh, Joe made himself a grilled cheese to go with his. And he's got the little oyster crackers. You guys know now, you've seen a few videos. He likes those on it. I went with pumpkin seeds. I was looking for something different. And so I Googled on the internet different things to put on top of your non-dairy items. And it suggested pumpkin seeds. And I thought that was a really good idea. Because as you know, I have a hard time finding crackers that are oil free. So I went with the pumpkin seeds. So it shouldn't be too hot because it was in the oven, and then we blended it, and it should be good to go. I think better than canned soup.
It's definitely different than canned soup.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you got different seasonings, but it's still really nice and thick, but yet watery. I mean, like soup should be. A little thicker than what Campbell's canned soup's going to be like. but it's definitely a lot fresher too.
Yes.
Tastes a lot more tomatoey than canned soup.
The first time I did it a few years ago, it wasn't vibrant. Remember, we were like, oh, that looks a little orangey compared to red. Here's pepper. Oh, you want more? So you might find that depending on how ripe your tomatoes are, it may not be as bright, but if you wanted to get more of that color, you could add a couple of dried, sun-dried tomatoes. Because I've had some dry soup mixes before, and they put the sun-dried tomatoes in there, the oil-free ones. Boy, does that give you that pop of tomato, and it's got that pop of the red color. Versus sometimes when you use fresh tomatoes, it's more orangey than red. It still tastes delicious. And for me, the roasted garlic, it just takes it up a notch, because if you use the raw garlic, if you use powdered, that would be fine. But if you use the raw, I think it would be a little too much punch. But again, you could use canned tomatoes, jarred roasted red peppers, roasted garlic, roasted onions, and you could blend this up and have tomato soup on the table in less than 15 minutes. So this is definitely worth it. It doesn't make a ton because I only made one sheet pan worth, but boy, we're going to enjoy it while we can. Any parting words?
I will say the basil that she used came out of the garden, and they say that fresh herbs are a lot more pungent than the store-bought stuff, and that is very true.
But I don't think it's too much.
No, but you can definitely taste the basil a lot stronger than anything I've ever had store-bought. There's completely different flavor.
Those pumpkin seeds taste really good, and it gives it a little crunch without the crackers. So thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. And if you like this video, if you'd like to share it, we would appreciate it. And we'll see you next week on One Dish, Two Ways.